In late October 1934, in the depths of the Great Depression, movie audiences across California settling into their seats were greeted as usual by a short film before the main feature. But this was not the typical newsreel or comedy. It was something new, the first attack ad in a political campaign to appear on a screen, decades before this became common on television.
Ladies and gentlemen, your inquiring cameraman decided to look into this much-discussed situation of the unemployed of the United States flocking to California. Let's see what we can see in actual scenes.
The target, world-famous author and socialist Upton Sinclair, who had swept the Democratic primary for governor of state, leading an unprecedented grassroots movement called End Poverty in California, or EPIC. The conspiracy to defeat Sinclair would become one of the dirtiest and most influential campaigns in U.S. history, in fact, inventing the political campaign as we know it today. The creator of the movie short was the top producer at the largest studio in Hollywood, Irving Thalberg of MGM. Nothing, Thalberg would explain, is unfair in politics. Upton Sinclair became famous around the world in 1906 with his novel The Jungle, which exposed the horrors of the meatpacking industry in Chicago and the dangers in our food. In the years that followed, Sinclair exposed the evils in almost every aspect of American society: big business and Wall Street, religion, the press, and the movie industry, among others. He frequently made national news leading protests or getting arrested. His friends included fellow leftists Charlie Chaplin and Albert Einstein. And when the Depression hit California, Sinclair spoke strongly for aid to the poor and unemployed. By 1934, more than 1 in 4 people in Los Angeles were out of work, as tens of thousands entered the state from the Midwest, escaping the Dust Bowl and economic disaster.
We had among the highest unemployed in the country, and the state financial situation was not strong. A great many people were hungry and without shelter. And this was a very low ebb. 1934 was perhaps the lowest.
Twice, Upton Sinclair ran for governor of California as a socialist in this heavily Republican state and drew few votes. But the election of Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1932 inspired Sinclair to try again, this time as a Democrat.
I have been asked by members of the County Central Committee of the Democratic Party to stand as a candidate at the Democratic primaries and to put before the people a program to end poverty in California.
Many were disappointed that some of FDR's programs to help the poor had not yet taken effect. Sinclair wrote a fantasy titled I, Governor of California, and How I Ended Poverty, which became a bestseller and inspired the formation of the EPIC movement.
All business will be humming and we'll give all the poverty the air. If this EPIC plan is phony, then the rest is all baloney. So vote for Downey and Upton Sinclair.
End poverty in California was predicated basically on the theory that you've got all this manpower and all this talent and all these goods going to waste. And what would make sense would be to apply the use of those goods and the production of goods to meet the needs of those who had nothing.
We needed a voice. We needed somebody who would rally the people. And he did present a program.
Dozens of Epic clubs were organized, and an Epic newspaper sold hundreds of thousands of copies. Sinclair named as his running mate Sheridan Downey, so the ticket became known as Uppy and Downey.